Okay, it's 4 o'clock, Wednesday, January 17, 2024. 24. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. This is the Town of Sangerville Select Board meeting.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think the select board minutes were in that folder.
Oh, okay.
Did Sam have the select board minutes?
I don't know. I didn't see them, nothing got into the
Okay.
folder.
So we will,
We're on a roll.
will
Oh, you
Okay.
have no
Gonna pass
idea.
over.
table,
We'll pass over item 2. Everybody agrees to that?
sure.
Item 3, review of treasurer's warrants payroll 2, 3, and 4.
Make a motion approved.
Second?
All in favor? We're all in
Good.
favor.
Question?
Oh, he's now he's
With
gonna do
regard to
accounts
B?
payable.
Yes. Just clarity. The heating oil, I know the heating oil for the town garage comes through us, but that's still plow contractor reimburses that, right?
They
But
did
as far as
last,
billing wise, it's
It goes through us.
through, goes through us and then they
re.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
last year, we have all the receipts from
Yep,
last year.
no, I just making sure it's still the same process.
So accounts payable, number 5.
It's approved.
All in favor? Open session, we've got a few people here. Does anybody want to speak
Yep,
right now? Okay.
yep. Dennis Campbell, you know who I am. Our committee that was meeting on the town hall, the initial committee had a two-pronged approach. Basically, what do you do about the town office and what do you do about the town hall? The majority of town sees that as one item, that the town hall is the answer to the town office. Our initial committee didn't necessarily see it that way. And we've formed a new committee again. And we're trying to figure out where we can head with that, what our options are, questions about the town hall building. There are immediate needs for that. The roof is leaking. You've got records in there that are in the cold and damp that shouldn't be. We don't quite understand why the electricity is turned off and why something isn't being done to keep some of those records in better shape. And if we are going to continue to work up some options for that building, we need access to get to it.
The records.
So,
you
the
would-
record piece, we've been working on a action plan to get those, recover them and seal them in, waterproof containers and store them so that they're in a environmentally controlled area. So that is part of, we have that plan in place. It's time and manpower. That we need to work on now, so.
So what is that plan? Where, are they gonna be stored at that off the town hall still? And you just, I guess a little more information.
So-
Understand where, what.
So the main plan is to get, we have access to some large waterproof containers. So we wanna pack them in smaller containers and label those and then packing list inside of what is in there. And then store it at the Public Works and work on it at the Public Works so that it's in a heated area. Because then the temperature is controlled, it's, it's not out of the cold and the damp and stuff. So that's the plan going forward until we come up with a better plan, but the initial plan is to get them out of that environment they're in right now and catalog them, right? Because nothing's cataloged. There's boxes of financial records and reports and things up on the stage that are thrown in wooden boxes. And there's no method to how it's stored or anything like that. Even at the finest, if it's not something we're mandated to hold on to, it has people's information on it that we should be shredding.
Should be disposed of properly.
Right. So those are the things that we gotta do, and then what we are retaining and mandated to retain needs to be cataloged, packed, organized, until we know what the future plan is,
So the town garage for temporary.
for temporary. It's the only place that we have room enough to store that much information or that much record keeping in an environmentally controlled area. And vital records that, we have a safe up there would be able to actually use for, that vital information. Plot maps, original charters, all of that stuff.
I don't remember why the
Insurance.
electricity had to be turned on?
Yep,
So why was that?
because of the insurance.
Insurance, okay.
You
And-
can't have electricity on in a building without insurance?
No, the insurance wouldn't cover the liability with the insurance on, the electricity on. They wanted.
Are they covering up liability now?
No.
Yeah, it's got, yes.
Well, I mean, to the extent that we don't have to put a fence around it.
Correct.
That sort of thing. That was discussed even though, but right now, we're protect, in other words, if something fell off that building and hurt someone, the town is covered right now.
Correct.
Well, what does electricity have to do with that? I'm not.
That was their mandate, that wasn't ours.
Yeah, I wasn't, I didn't remember, so
Yeah.
that's, but. And we can ask them again, but that was, we didn't think of it, they thought of it.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, if our committee is seeking to come up with some options, we need to be able to assess some of the needs there and see where we're going with it.
Well, I guess, first of all, you were involved in the whole process and I really appreciate all the work you put into it. And you're right, the vote, the proposal on the new town office and the congressional funds didn't carry.
Right.
But for me personally, I don't see that necessarily as, now we've decided we're gonna restore the old building. Even people who were very opposed to the new town office and seeking congressional funds agreed that the only logical thing to do was what we were doing. So the three of us haven't decided that's illogical. We still believe it's the logical thing to do. And as far as the other building, it's just a money thing. We have enough information to know that it's beyond our capacity to pay for it.
Okay. So if the roof's leaking, we just let it leak?
Well, Patrick, ideally, you should be looking at what is
What that
required to
means.
stop further damage, no question about that.
Now, I went back up last week, or the week before, and it was dry. So I don't know if it's ice buildup or what, but yes, that is.
Yeah,
Gotta
it could
go
be, I
forward.
don't even, is a flat area up there, there could be a drain there that got blocked.
Well, and
Yeah.
you think about some of these last few storms and the volume of rain we've had, any roof that probably didn't leak before might have leaked during one of those storms, so.
I'm more than willing to look at it, you know,
And people you can go in with Patrick in an official capacity and,
Yeah, I'm
I don't,
happy.
you may have to sign a waiver, but I don't know about that.
I mean, if you're with me, I can verify,
And you have a background in this sort of thing, if I remember correctly.
I've done a lot of roofs, I've done slate roofs, I've slate roofed churches and steeples, and
I think you would be an ideal
there you
person
go.
to go look at that
Perfect.
for us.
I'm more than willing.
Yeah, I think
we
as long
should
as you're
have
with an
the-
official, we're covered.
We should have that drone video too, but the drone video, you can actually see the top side of the roof without being up there. So you could get an idea of what's up there and cracks and things like that from that too.
But that, as far as the two approaches, we just, basically, once we got to a dollar amount that was
Right.
insurmountable.
Okay. So as far as future of a town office, where does that stand right now?
I would suspect that we're gonna put it on the ballot. We'll keep doing it until, we don't have a town office. We
Right.
need a town office.
Right.
We own plenty of land to put on the town office.
Is our committee involved in that, or is that something that you would select board are doing?
the work product for that was pretty much completed. And at that time, I remember the date was the 6th, 11/6, the thought was a committee would be formed to research a nonprofit solution.
For the
Similar
town,
to the
for
Central Hall
For the town hall
situation.
building,
Yeah.
right.
So that was kind of the two, then that was the two paths we're gonna go that way, and that's what, we would still support that.
Right. The majority of town sees it as one path, I think, realistically, and whether we agree with that or not, that's.
Yeah, no, that may be true, I'm not sure everybody knows
Do you, oh,
the numbers,
sorry.
but.
And, Dennis, are you coming up with that because of the vote? Or how are you, majority, where's that coming from?
Well, the vote at the town meeting was 79-21.
But that was about going for congressional directed
Right,
funds.
but it tied to that was the concept of building a new town hall versus going back into the old one.
I don't think it was a versus, I mean, it
I mean, I
wasn't
think-
versus at all.
I agree that some people
Thought it
intellectualize
was,
it
thought
that
it
way,
was.
but I like, somebody would yell out, I went to Boy Scouts there,
All right, I know, yeah,
and I was like, well, that's not really
yeah.
how you run a town.
Right,
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Diane.
I-
No, sorry.
I'm just wondering, my perception of the vote, of the special town meeting vote was not that people didn't want a new town office, but they wanted more details about the town office in terms of what would square footage be, what would be the uses of it, where would it be put? They wanted answers to the questions of if the money were to be procured, then what would be the use of that money? And would the town have any kind of say in that? Not that they necessarily didn't want to have a new town office. It's they wanted more information about the spending of that money.
So the final location and design, we established that we were gonna form a finalized committee to that.
Yeah, but that
Right,
was
and-
repeatedly asked, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with Diane, I think that is a piece to it, and I think Dennis is right. I think that's kind of the problem, you have all of these different pieces to why it didn't.
And I think if you were to move forward and reintroduce that same idea about the congressional funds, you might want to consider rewording the article so it's specific to having town's permission, that's air quotes for people who can't see what I'm doing. Having the town's permission to go ahead with the application. You know, yes, that's a great idea, see if we can get the money. Then we can come back and do,
there was a specific reason that we didn't do it that way.
okay, I didn't know that, what,
The likelihood of you receiving funding is greatly reduced if it's just an ask. Everybody can ask.
Any town can ask.
We don't even need the town's permission to ask,
okay.
okay? So, and I'm sure lots of people are asking. But to actually have an odds-on chance of getting it, if you pass a project, if the town has said, we're gonna do this, we need it, we're gonna do it anyway. So, but then your odds of getting help are greatly increased, almost a certainty. That's why we worded it the way we worded it.
Okay.
We didn't have to, we could have done what you said, but there was a reason behind it. Because you can imagine how many people are just plain, just asking.
Filling out the application and putting it in, let's see. you know,
Free
let's-
money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll give you
Exactly.
another, Milo's project, they got $6.5 million. And when they passed it, it specifically says, we don't know where we're gonna put it. It's gonna be between this location and that location, and they're gonna form a committee and decide where it went. But Milo was able to
Wrap
intellectualize,
their heads
gee, this is
around
an
it.
opportunity.
Yeah.
We're gonna get $6.5 million. And they got it.
So
Greenville, same thing.
it just needs to be clearly understood that if you put another article in, that were the money to be procured, that's only step one. And that there's other things that need to be done.
I was pretty sure we did that, though.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
but
we did.
I think,
I mean, Even,
think
even
what's-
there at the meeting, that was repeated several times,
You need to
that there would be a
make
committee to decide where it was, or a committee to help design the building, and none of that mattered. I mean,
Okay,
I think there's an attempt to anchor that building with this essential service. It's almost like a human shield for some people. If, as long as we don't have a town office, there's a chance that it could go back into that building. For some people, that's how I think they're looking at it. And there's not, if they have enough votes, that it'll probably gonna stay that way.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I know that we were asking, for an engineering, full engineering.
Well, we did talk to Plymouth about that.
Right,
That's a
okay.
substantial expense. But he
Right.
did kind of freestyle, when you and Dale and,
Jeff.
Jerry was there, Jeff was there.
it was,
I was not there.
no, it was Jeff and
Lance?
Lance.
Lance
I
was
was
there.
not there.
We were at the town garage, just looking at that piece of property, and I did not know that they essentially were the lead on the Central Hall project, going back nearly 20 years ago.
Plymouth Engineering.
Plymouth
was.
Engineering was. They're also doing the Milo project, by the way. And so I asked, I said, it's not fair to ask you what it would, a detailed expense on our building, because you haven't been through it. But if you were to redo the Central Hall project, what would it be in today's dollars? And he said it would approach $12 million.
but that's sight unseen.
He's just on that, he knows that project, he knows what has happened from, so. And we had numbers from Carpenter back in 19 that were real numbers. They did come and look at the first floor damage, and they looked at the foundation. And the last time I spoke to him was in 20, and he said between 600 and 800 for those two components. Carpenter Engineering out of Old Town. They're the ones that did the original foundation plan, which you might find interesting to look at. It's,
I'd like to see it.
yeah, you'd understand it.
Pretty comprehensive.
I found it amongst,
Everything else.
I just found it.
Yeah, but they did that, they put that together nearly, that was almost 20 years ago, I think, that we did that foundation work.
I'd love to see that. Yes,
Yep,
please.
Yeah,
yep, it's all there, and along with their assessment, he's got that too. Yep,
I have two questions. One is, I have concern about, it's called, it's a back curtain that was on the stage. I don't know,
It's there.
is
It's
it
still
still,
there.
is it still hanging?
It's not on the backstage, no, so there's some petitions that are painted and they're like cloth-like and they're
Yeah.
on one side of it.
Okay,
Cause I meant to tell you that I saw it,
okay, so
or saw that stuff.
it's a scene of Venice,
Yeah,
yeah, lots
there.
of oranges and
Yeah.
yellows in it and all that. Is it still hanging, or is it rolled?
so these were, I thought, on like a wooden frame.
Yeah, they were, I thought the ones,
Wood frame.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're almost like props that you slid in, not hanging.
Well, the reason there's there's an organization called Curtains Without Borders that goes around, taking pictures of, these back curtains because they were made by traveling artists at the beginning of the 1900s. East Sangerville Grange has two of them. There are places all around that have these, and they are historically significant. And I just don't want to lose track of the one that we have in the town hall because it is, first of all, it's unusual. When I first saw it, I was just like, that's Venice? What do we have a picture of Venice? But it's a significant artifact of our town history. And I want to just make sure that we don't lose it either because of a leaking roof or
Yeah.
any kind of rodent damage that might happen to it. Not that mice really go after that stuff, but you know, you have your oak mice every so often. The East Sangerville Grange has offered, if you want another place to put that curtain and in the interim, the Grange would be very happy to store it with ours. so that it will be as protected as it could be without having to worry about that. So just if it's something that we could arrange, if it's something that the town would be up for, I just want to emphasize that it is a place of safekeeping for that artifact, so that it doesn't get lost.
Does it have value?
Yes, it does.
Do you have any idea?
I don't know, I mean, we've got two of them, and it depends on who looks at it. If it's in good shape, it can, and that one's a large one. That's a pretty significantly large one from what I understand. We had someone from Curtains Without Borders come to the Grange, and they were all excited about ours. Ours are not that big, they're about 30 feet by maybe 15. And when they took pictures of ours, they were saying that they did have some value. They need some restoration, but they do have some value. We had somebody years ago from New York City who came up, and he was, can I see the building? And yes. And he, on the spot, offered us $10,000 for the one that was hanging.
Wow.
They're going, I was like, no, sorry, thank you. But, it's just somebody with money in his pocket that was burning. But, they can have very significant value, not just a couple $100s, we're talking thousands. So it's just a matter of making sure, I'm looking at it more as it's irreplaceable. It is a historic artifact that belongs to the town, and I just want to make sure that it is in safekeeping somewhere. Either, something that the town finds a place for it. East Sangerville Grange has said we'd be willing custodians of it. So that is just one aside. The second thing I just wanted to mention is do you have it in your sites, or does the budget committee have it in their sites to have a line item for maintenance dollars for the building, the town hall building at this point, like for the leaky roof or anything like that?
We'd have to get
We
a,
would have, so
Yeah.
last year did have a
Assessment.
line item that I know of, and then I would anticipate it's municipally owned building, they would have to have a line item
Have
and
something.
something for maintenance to it, I mean,
well, definitely if you got a hole in the roof.
Right,
yeah, I
right,
mean,
it
you
needs to be
can't,
repaired.
so, so it's
Okay,
gonna
I
be-
just want to, because if it is still a town-owned building, and I think we still have an obligation to make sure that it doesn't deteriorate anymore through lack of attention
Mhm.
on repairable maintenance.
Absolutely.
So, has the budget committee started meeting
Not
yet?
yet.
Do we have any kind of an idea about, is that something I can
So
find on the website as terms
No, it
of
has not been set up.
calendar?
Did
Okay,
you reach out?
all right.
Did you reach out to those last two?
No.
Okay, so we got two more that I need to reach out to,
Okay,
and then after that, we're ready and we'll be formed, and, I'll present it to you, and then we'll.
okay, so you are saying that there's going to be a line item
Yes,
for building maintenance
Mhm.
issues?
I think it's dereliction of duty if you don't.
Well, that's my concern, is that, being a town-owned building, we still have a responsibility to make sure that it isn't deteriorating while we're trying to figure out what to do with it.
Right.
Either because of something we're gonna continue as a town, or someone else coming in to do something else with it. We wanna make sure it's still in good shape. Okay,
I'll carry it over.
thank you.
Thank you. I was really concerned about the roof.
This was, it never leaked before, it just happened
Well, there was that
last
one time, so
storm.
that, but still, again, we, the weather's been so
Weird.
off and on.
Yeah, yeah.
That, now I have to schedule to get somebody in there to look and then get a quote and see how much it, and somebody might even have the membrane. I've heard whispers that somebody has some of the roofing membrane for it, so that might be just that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I think, we're trying to determine where our committee is gonna, head forward, where we go. as I say, there are some people who see it's just one issue that has to do with the town office being in the town hall. There are others of us who see those as two separate issues, and we have to work
Sure.
work our way forward and see where we're headed. On our committee, there are people of both persuasions, I can tell you that.
Well, there were,
Yeah.
we saw that, and they move back and forth too sometimes.
So sometimes they do, yes,
Yep.
they do, I understand that.
Yep.
But we're trying to, we wanna be helpful, and we wanna do something worthwhile and not just waste our time for something that we can't do anything about.
Well, this is, any information that the town has is available to you, and you don't need to make FOIA requests, you don't need, you just, if we have it, you can have it.
That's much appreciated.
No, that's-
I wonder too about, you remember that guy's name that came in that time? And talked to,
That was
remember?
Chris. You
Chris
mean?
Moss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he talked about what it actually took. I wonder if that might be
He would
beneficial
be,
too for the.
you know,
Oh,
and we
he's a-
know, but he'd be
he's a
great for your
resource.
committee.
Yeah.
He's a great resource.
Yeah.
He is.
That was
He's
a,
incredibly.
that was eye-opening that night, listening to
Yeah.
him talk
Yeah.
about
He's
how that
very,
all
very-
went. And
Yeah, if you wanna know the path, he's already paved it.
Yep.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
so many
Yes.
ways.
Yep,
And,
he
and
is.
we actually have a lot of other resources that have also seen that same path. I went down that path in the 90s with the old town hall building, you know, so there are people who are locally available. A couple people from the Unitarian Universalist Church, because they have been doing restoration there and have walked that maze of applications and exploration of different agencies and resources and grants. So we have a lot of very good resources. And Chris, all you have to do is say Chris and he'd jump.
Right.
So I think,
And he's still in Dover, is he?
yes,
Okay.
he just got the Pete Myrick Award for
Yeah.
Oh,
community
okay.
service.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
he's from away, but my goodness, you might have
Yeah.
thought that he was here before the towns were built because he's invested.
Yes.
So
I just think the similarities between the two buildings are so
Yeah.
There
much
are-
in sync.
there are
You know.
some very big similarities, but there are also some major differences. The Central Hall building was in deplorable shape compared to what we had to work with. I mean, our building had some issues, but we brought that up to a point that we are miles ahead of where they started with Central Hall. Central Hall was an absolute mess compared to what we have as a starting point here, but that's for another day's conversation. Thank you.
All good? Yep, thank you. Old business town hall building. We pretty much covered it, did we?
Can I move on from that one?
Yes, we can. New business.
Actually, this is old business, I didn't move it up, and that's policy updates.
Okay.
And the ones that I think Michelle and I are gonna hone in on now is, personnel. And accountability and things like that, so that's gonna be one of the major ones, overall, overarching, and then departmental. Is gonna be policy updates. And then that'll start next week. Is my plan. I'll check with Michelle, she'll tell me if we can get it in or not. Next is mowing contracts. I sent out approximately 4 to 6 bid requests for each, for the cemeteries, the town mowing, and then roadside. I got one back from each. I got one back from Nick Easler for the town again. The only thing I had him do differently this year from last year was add another, cause he had 20 weeks last year, and he actually ended up mowing a whole nother month. So I had him put 24 weeks on there, because we were dipping into other monies. So I just need to make sure that, we're all in agreement, so I can write up a contract for Nick, and 6,120 for 24 weeks of all of the required. And then, like I said, these are the only ones back. So then for some of the cemeteries, PJs came through again, and, it's 13,000 for those.
So there's no competitive bid?
No
Yes,
competitive with
okay,
any of
okay,
them,
so
but I
it
just
is what
want,
it is.
I'm thankful to see PJ's.
yeah, and then,
I wasn't sure if he was gonna do it again.
and then for the roadside, it's again only one. And, Lambert's Diesel, and they also put in their quote to do the dump this year.
Oh,
Oh, good, that's good.
So it's $2,750 for them, so.
Is that one side road, one pass roadside mowing? Not twice, you have typically do once.
Typically one.
Okay.
We'll get all the roads on there this year.
Yeah, both sides.
Both sides.
So I'll move forward with the contracts,
Good, good.
and, inform them that they got a bid, so that's all ready for summer. The next contract that's gonna go out is a request for, next year, 24, 25, plowing and sanding, it's all the same there, so. That'll be back, and it's gonna be due before we do the budget, so we know when we award it, what it's gonna be for the yearly budget, is the plan. And then, town office rent, Lee sent a letter stating an increase of $39 for the rent due to 3% inflation over the year. And then he's also contacted you about other opportunities.
Yeah, I ran into him, and so, I actually, was just talking to him actually about the dumpster, and, if he had any control over the dumpster, which he said he didn't. He mentioned that the apartment above the office that we are currently renting is vacant. And, so I did wanna perhaps discuss, the possibility of renting that apartment to give us more room perhaps for Patrick's office. I don't think they're attached. And it is up a flight of stairs. I did talk to him, he said it was vacant. And, and he said he wouldn't rent it until we discussed it. So I don't know how anybody feels about that, or whether that's.
What do you feel about that?
For just me, I don't think that it would be a necessity for me to, now, with that opportunity, is there an area that we might be able to store some records or take some stuff out of there and put it upstairs so that it is in controlled, locked in area, not, the Public Works building, that was our, so my thought is maybe there's an opportunity for vital record storage somehow up there. That's how I see it. I wouldn't want it for just me.
What about privacy? I mean, contract negotiations, personnel issues, I mean, you don't really have a place where you can talk to anybody, even on the phone.
No, you're right. Well, I go to my truck.
Stand on the sidewalk.
Or I stand outside and you guys get to hear the wind blow. If it's, really that private, I've got here. The problem is leaving there to come up here to talk to somebody, that's an issue. Well, it's not an issue, but it's an issue. I would wanna make sure if we were spending the money on something like that, that we were using it for just more than myself, that it was being used for, some records keeping, or staging stuff like that. That's my concern.
My biggest thing, I love that idea of being able to get the records in a better controlled area, but I hate the concept of lugging them up and down the stairs.
Yeah,
So you're in, that's not good.
Yeah.
Well, if my desk isn't there downstairs, right, and we could move some stuff up, we might be able to store some of the records downstairs, right? If we do it right,
Maybe.
like somehow reorganize downstairs so that it's,
I would hate to have it start looking junky. I mean, people are now coming, going, wow, look at your town office. You know, they're like, it's so open.
Yeah, I threw out that curtain, by the way.
Yeah.
It was so uninviting.
The only thing, and the thing too upstairs is that you're not handicap accessible.
Right.
No, it would only be
For
I mean, it'd
Patrick's
only be for you or
office.
Patrick or whatever,
Yeah.
but.
I
Right,
mean, you could have a contractor come up and you could talk to him.
right, if you needed to do that. Perhaps we should propose, talking to Lee, see whether there's any sort of.
Have you ever seen the space?
No, I have not.
Okay, that's probably the
That might,
first step.
yeah.
The first thing,
Do that and also find out price-wise, what he would be thinking. I know that we're very, I did discuss with him that we are very good tenants, and he would love to have us. And so,
Is it fair to say not having someone up there is also an advantage? Just,
oh, and it's
I think that's the bigger thing.
I know you had some issues.
extracurricular recreational activities eliminated
Abound.
is
Parking,
wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger advantage.
yeah,
I mean, it may be that, for one single thing, it isn't worth it, but as you start adding them all up, maybe it is worth locking it up. I don't know.
And then, if Michelle and I come up with a plan for some of the records on, we don't have to lug them all at one time. Yeah, with multiple trips might be a pain, but at least they're under lock and key and, if there's a bedroom up there, maybe that's just a storage room. I don't know, I just see that as an opportunity to
Well, it would be-
eliminate more than one thing.
It'd be heated, if we had an hour or 2 hours, we could run upstairs.
Right,
We could
work on
take a computer or
records.
laptop up there,
Yeah.
start working, there's a lot of work to be done for those records. One thing is trying to get the safe open, because we think it's frozen shut.
Yeah.
Oh,
They got
that's
stuck
happened
before.
before.
No, there was an issue with it.
There was an
Yeah.
issue,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, Sam's made a phone call and she made it last week, so
The locksmith was.
There's a bill from a
He's been in
locksmith.
before.
We've called the locksmith last
Yeah,
year.
she called.
or you- Oh, okay.
She's called twice.
She called,
Okay.
so that's, but again, there's stuff in the basement that we can get up out of the basement over there that, it needs to be in a controlled environment. So I just wanna make sure that if we're doing it, it's not just for the sake of myself, we're doing it for multiple reasons.
Is all that stuff down in the basement, is it all in boxes now, or is it all gonna
It's
be?
all on the shelf, it's all gotta be bagged and tagged.
So would you want it back in boxes, or would you want it in file cabinets? If we were gonna set up a room
They're
upstairs?
books.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
they are is the old leather-bound books
Oh, yeah.
from God only knows how old. Some of those books are starting to get moldy. There are some boxes down there which, when we notice the dates, they can be thrown away, shredded or thrown away. So, but I don't think they're gonna fit in a file cabinet, that's
Sure.
a,
Oh, do we have the shelving, is there shelving units still in the library?
Yes,
So we might be able to use some of those.
maybe.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
some of the ones that that aren't built in, they were
Yes.
they're afterthoughts.
Yeah.
And that was one, cause Michelle and I talked about taking two of them and doing another countertop so that there's stuff out there, but we have the ability to do some retrofit up there.
Mike, oh, sorry, Diane's.
Oh,
Just as a side thought, in terms of having a place for privacy, schools need sometimes for special needs students who need a private space, they've built kind of like an isolation room within a classroom. It's not very big. You wouldn't need to have a room big enough for a desk and all of that, as long as you had room for maybe 3 chairs so that Patrick could invite somebody to come in and sit down, close a door, and have a conversation. It would be just a 2x4 wall, insulated so that there's sound deadening, and a ceiling, a false ceiling. That could be easily built within the rental, not have any impact on the infrastructure of the rental. And when the town was finished with the rental, it could be dismantled, especially if it was pre-made as 4 walls that could just be bolted together, and a ceiling, and just a hollow core door. It doesn't have to be anything, it's just a quick little isolation booth that offers privacy in a way that there isn't now. It's just a thought, just a thought. I mean, schools do it all the time in order to give cool down time for kids. And it would be an option that I don't think would cost them an
Right.
arm and a leg,
Right.
really. So, just a thought.
Well, I'll do some research on going forward. I don't wanna, yeah, I just wanna make sure it's not just for me.
Right.
Next, is Michelle, for the assessors return.
Yes, so you have in front of you, the county budget came, over the weekend.
Yep.
So there's one thing that we need to have signed by the board. This is the agreement, and I have not checked to see what your payment was last year for county.
About 12% less,
Really? Okay.
which represented about a 22% increase over the previous year.
Correct.
It's not like we have an option on this.
No,
No, unfortunately. The full audit is in the office, if you want to see the nuts and bolts of it.
Then, if you wanna move on, it's not on here, it was, I circled around emails, and for the, Millard and Marjorie's Smart Trust Fund, Bank of America wants to dissolve themselves of handling that. One thought that they wanted to do was go to Main Trust, but actually, another party, a Portland Trust Company, called, and the church, Universalist Church, which owns 60% of the fund, the trust, would like to move it over to the Portland Trust Company. And so with us being in concurrence of moving our 40% over, the 100% would go, and it would be owned by a main entity and a main trust. So before I email back and just give her a thumbs up, I just wanna make sure we're okay with me moving that trust over.
that makes sense to me.
Okay, good. And then then we're still with the church, and it's nested together like it has always been. Next, town manager's report. The only thing I have to report is Michelle and Sam did a rabies clinic this past weekend, here, for citizens to be able to come in and get boosters. I don't know if you wanna it's a good news
Yeah.
story, and I wanna just kinda go on that.
Well, and unfortunately, the weather did not help us. We had 3 people come, we registered some dogs. Next year, Dr. Dubois is more than willing to come back. He wasn't shook up that we only had 3. So we'll do it next year, we'll put the advertising in the paper, and see if we can get more people used to it, so.
Can I comment on this rabies clinic? I have 3 dogs and I have them all taken care of, and I think it's a great idea to have the rabies clinic, but can we do it before
Yeah.
tags are due? Because you did it after tags were due, and then one other question I have is I came in to pay for my tags. My job didn't allow me to come in when you guys were open, so I had a day off, but the office was closed, and I get you that end of year stuff, but now I gotta pay extra, you know what I mean, because I wasn't able to get in because the office was closed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's fair, because I pay for my dogs every year, and I know there's lots of people that don't.
As long.
Why should I have to pay extra because I can't get into the office?
As long as you get them paid by February 1st. February 1st is when the $25 comes into play. The reason we picked January is because it's after Christmas,
Yep,
especially someone who has 3 or 4 dogs.
yep,
That's $20 a dog.
yep,
So we do it then, so it's in the middle of the month, and you can also license at the same time.
okay.
So it's always worked out well that way.
Okay,
But
okay.
you won't get charged
I just
until.
wanted some
Yep.
clarification, you know what I mean, because I take them to the vet, get them all taken care of, and I think the rabies clinic's awesome, you know what I mean, it's a great deal when I saw that come out. I got the flyer in the mail, and I was like, that's fabulous,
Yep,
but I mean, maybe for some people, before the tax were due, I think would be possibly a better idea.
You kind of get the whole month of January
Yeah,
with,
I don't think that
with
was
no
explained.
penalties.
That wasn't explained in the flyer, because now I'm like, okay, now I can't get in, now I gotta pay the penalty, you know what I mean? So,
We've also had people, drop stuff off, have a friend drop it off.
Yeah.
We can mail it to you, we'll work with you, so that you don't pay the fee.
right, no, I appreciate that. I just wanted a couple questions and clarification.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
But it's something that we wanna carry over, you know,
That's a
for those
good,
opportunities.
yeah, newsletter thing, so that
Yeah.
everybody kind of knows the sequence and
Yep.
that it's coming up. and you can
I'd love
plan
to
on-
write one.
My complaint, tags too big, can't put them on my dog.
They make too
Get a
much
real
noise.
dog.
I don't like them.
So, thanks, Michelle. So next, road commissioner, report. I talked to Chris yesterday, and he wants to know if we can purchase another load of salt. We had monies that, you know, I know we're year end over now, but we had monies.
To me, it's not about that money's gone, but
Yeah.
we're into a new budget cycle, but that's health and safety, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do
It's
it.
not really a question, you have
Not
to,
even a
you have
gray
to buy
zone.
salt for the road.
So
Not even a gray zone.
I told him that we'd call this week to get New England to deliver another load for us up for the salt shed.
So
Did you
just
have-
straight salt, straight salt.
So it just,
Yeah, we buy so many and keep it in there, so if he's gonna do a hot load or whatever.
Yeah.
Do we have a pile for citizens to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and posted, you know, 5-gallon bucket for citizens. So, and that's all I have for this week, this month, this week, wherever we're at.
All right, any selectmen's concerns? You requested this executive session?
Can I jump in for one more thing?
Yes, you may.
We have been notified that we have the Democratic caucus coming up. It's gonna be on the February 4th. And it'll be from 2 to 4 at the high school. So that's posted at the office.
We'll make sure it's online too, posted online.
Okay. I make a motion that we go into executive session, under 1 MRSA 405 is personnel.
Second.
It's 4:47. We're all in favor of going into executive session.